Okay, good. So again, welcome everybody. I'm very glad to see all of you today, and thank you for being part of this journey with this brand new class, SQL. Okay, good. And Python, and today we're actually going to be seeing the Python in function working. So if you just joined, you can go to the Slack channel Thursday class and download the file that we're going to be using today with the code, or you can copy paste it to your IDE, but it's just sometimes easier just to download the file right here where it's the little cloud, and then upload it into your CS50 IDE, and then the notes are here too. So you can open the notes, and these are here today's notes. Okay, and as thank you very much for all of you who provided suggestions for the next class. I take your suggestion very seriously. I have decided to do GitHub because but we're gonna have some data science in May. So I'm gonna prepare for that class in April so I can offer in May, and I have taken your suggestions down. So one of the things I would like to do in May is Jupyter Notebook, and then maybe other applications that have deal with data science and visualization. Okay, so so thank you very much for your suggestion, and let me know if you have any suggestions. A lot of you did that. So so the next class in April is going to start after Easter, so it'll be in 2 weeks, and it'll be GitHub, and it's already in our calendar. So if you want to sign up, you're welcome to. Okay, so so the last class for SQL and Python. So the first today we're going to be kind of wrapping up everything we have learned. And remember, SQL is a database. It's different than Excel. So what is a database? A database is a place that we can manage data, and we can have list of data, but also the database allows us to do different connections. And you can see here this little graph that I have here. So this is a simple database where I have a table called, this is our TV shows table, and this is our genre table. So before initially we have all of this in a flat file, which is we imported for CSV, a CSV file. And you remember we had combined in one file the time stamp, then we had another column with the TV, then it was the TV show, and then another column where it has the genre, and the genre could be more than one term. So last week we learned how to fill out a table that will have only the TV shows, and another table where we're gonna have only the genre. So if we put all these TV shows in one table inside the database, and we put the genre in another table, how do you think we can keep the connection that each data point has? So how do you think, is it important to keep the connection of what are the genre for the office, or can we forget about that? So what do you think? You can write it down on the Slack. So anybody, oh, there it is. People are typing. So if we have a file, you have a join key. So some people have understanding on database. I can see that because they're using lingo from databases, so that's good. My question is, before we had a CSV file, which is similar to Excel file, it's a flat file where we have 3 columns. One was the time frame, one was the TV shows, and one was the genre. Now we're going to separate it, and we started doing it last week, where we have one table is going to have only the TV shows, and then another table will have only the genre. My question, do you think it's important that we keep those initial connections that says what kind of genre the office is? Or we should just, that doesn't matter? So I was just looking for your opinion. Yes, exactly. So yeah, so thank you. So good job, everybody. So the connection matters. I see you all are using a lot of technical lingo, and I like that, but the main thing is the connection matters. We need to keep the integrity of the data. And when you design a database, you have to have that in mind to keep those relationships. It's called relationship. Remember, SQL is a relationship database. So we need to keep those initial relationships that were embedded, sewn into the data that was given to us. Otherwise, you're going to lose the integrity. Therefore, we use terms called primary key and foreign key. So the primary key is going to be your most important key. So it's going to be your main key, and it's going to keep everybody in check. So for example, in our case with the TV shows, we're going to have a primary key. And that's the main ID. That's like your social security number that connects to everything. So each show is going to have a unique ID attached to it. And it's going to be, so the office is going to have a unique ID. Then the other shows like Friends and all other shows will have their unique IDs. And so there's not going to be a repetition of primary key. So that's what it means. So it's unique to each show. So the primary key constraint uniquely identifies each record on a table. So then we're going to have a genre. And this is very important concept if you never heard before, if you're not familiar with. So when you create another table like this genre, it's very important to keep that connection, that relationship to the TV show. So you need to have a foreign key that kind of has the history, that keeps the history with the primary key. So it'll keep the history, it's going to connect. So this show ID is going to be your foreign key, and you can have several foreign key, not several, but you're going to have a foreign key almost in every table. But it's going to be most likely the same. It's not going to be different. So for example, this is going to keep the relationship to the ID. So even if you have several tables under the database, you can backtrack from the last table, backtrack, kind of like a family tree, backtrack all the way to the primary key. And that's your job as a database designer. You have to be able to keep that relationship. When that relationship get lost, either by mistake or either by bad design, then you're going to have a bunch of data that is orphaned. It doesn't have any relationship. So for our case, we're going to have a primary key for the TV shows, and then we're going to assign a foreign key to the genre table. And how do we do that? We're going to code it on SQL. So the first thing we need to do right now, so now that all is clear, and I hope you'll understand, and if you don't understand, let me know. But I think after you do it yourself, it's gonna make sense. So we're gonna go to our CS50 IDE. So go ahead and go to your folder. And if you are already there, go and open your SQL 3 environment. So we're gonna do this 2 ways. We're gonna do SQL first to create a primary key and a foreign key. And then we're gonna do Python to do that. So the same thing we're gonna do with SQL, we're gonna do it in Python before the end of the class. So right now, we just do what we always do, mod CSV. And then we're gonna open the database, and it should be still there, right? You should still have your shows database. It should still be in your IDE. And then we're gonna do tables just to verify how many tables we have there. So I already created these tables for before. So it's not gonna show up for you. If you didn't delete it last time, you can go and delete it. I'm just gonna make something else. So you don't have to do it. So the first code, so I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you the code, and then you can show me if it works. So the first thing, you're gonna create the primary key on the shows table. So you're gonna use this code. I'm gonna put it on Slack, and you can also get it from the notes. And go ahead and use that to create a table. That's gonna create a table that's gonna have one, oh great, it works. And it's gonna have one column with the ID. Then the second column is gonna be the title. And then you see the third term, it says primary key ID. So that's where I assign the column. What column is gonna be my primary key, and it's gonna add it's gonna have a unique number. So in this case, it's gonna start with 1. So a table can only have one primary key, and this primary can consist of single or multiple columns field. Yeah, that's a more complex, but for now, we're just gonna have one column, and it has to be a unique values and cannot contain null values, okay? So now you can do tables, type tables like I just did, and you're gonna see the table you just created. And you should have, not this one, but you should have your shows table, which is the database, and then you should have the table you just created with the previous line. So all good so far? Okay, so then we're going to go to the create the next table, which is going to have the foreign key. So we're going to take all this. It's not working there. We're going to take that and create the next table with its foreign key. And the code basically says create table. Too much clicking. So create table genres. Then you're gonna have a column called show ID, which is an integer because that's gonna be our foreign key. So you want it to be an integer. Genre, which is if it's a comedy, if a musical, and so on. And then we're gonna write foreign key, and we're gonna have assign the foreign key to the show ID column. And the most important part is this show ID is connected to the primary key by writing references. So you put references And then it says shows, the table shows, and then you put the ID. So that's what it is. This is the code that is gonna get linked to the primary key in the table shows, and you need to tell them which one is the primary key. Okay, so you have to be design that yourself. It's gonna connect it, but you need to tell them which one is the primary key, what table. Okay, so this is kind of like the path to find the primary key. And then you do tables again, and you should now have those two tables. One with shows, it should be backwards, but you got me. I'm gonna change it just in case somebody is watching this later on. So one is gonna be shows. You're gonna see the database. This database shows, and then you're gonna see the table. This went crazy. So that's correct. And then this is gonna be the database. This is gonna be the table inside the database, and this is the other table inside the database. So the shows is your primary, it has your primary key, and the genre, it has the foreign key, and they are connected. Now you created an invisible link. Like yeah, you're good. That's what it should do. You're gonna have like, let me show you my CSI ID, because I already did this line and I don't wanna delete what I just did. So you're gonna have this shows, which is no shows table, because I don't know why this is showing to me. I must have done something, but you're gonna have, oh yes, because I created last week. So it's gonna be the table. Shows table is a table that has your all the raw data. The raw data, the genre is gonna have is empty now because you created, and shows is empty now because you created. But you can do a schema, and you put genres, and you're gonna see what is inside. So that's the one, or you can do select from genres, and you're gonna see mine already has, I should have deleted before but if you do select from, it should be empty for you because you haven't added anything. But if you do so right now, just do the schema genre. So it's gonna, if you do select from, it's gonna be empty, even though I just did this today, so that's why it's showing like that. So let me go here to the notes. So you created that. So now we need to start adding values to those tables that you made. So the first one, we're gonna do the mapped show, and we're gonna add it to where? So which one is that gonna go? What database? It shows, correct. So now I'm creating, inserting a value to the table shows, and this is title. So I don't have to tell them what to put in the ID. You see that? I only gonna indicate that the only one I want to put a value here is title. I omit the column ID because the machine is gonna, the database is gonna give it a number. Okay, so it will be 1, and then when I add another value, it's gonna be 2, and so on. And then I write the mapped show. It's now you try select from, you're gonna see the mapped show in your IDE. So you should have ID, yeah, great. You're gonna have ID title 1, that's the primary key, and that's the mapped show. So let's try the genres. And the genre is gonna be the same code, but we have to indicate which one is the, that's when we're gonna do the connection. You're gonna see that. So for this one, insert into table genre. So now we have to specify. We need to give a value to show ID. We need to put a genre. So we need to tell it, you're gonna put a value in the column show ID. You're gonna put a value on the column genre, and the values are gonna be 1 and comedy. Why 1? Because you know it's 1, right? The Muppet Show primary key is 1. So it needs to match. And that's where you're gonna put 1. So you can see it becomes labor intensive if you have to do this 200 times. No, because that's the beauty of it. You have to make this manually, okay? But do not worry, we'll figure out how to do it in a faster way. So right now, go and do find what is inside the content of the genre. And now you should have 1 and then comedy. Why 1 comedy? So the Muppet Show genre is comedy and musical. So 1 refers to 1 in the Muppet Show because the reference number, the primary key, the ID, I'm gonna use ID now. The ID for the Muppet Show is 1, is the number 1. So when I look at the genre table and I see this ID, the show ID, it means I need to look at this table and find what 1 means. So if you see this by itself and you see 1, that's just gonna give you the ID, but you need to go to the table where you find out what is the ID, what TV show belongs to the ID, okay? So now, what is beside comedy for the Muppet Show? A musical. So now we're gonna put this, and you're gonna see why we cannot do this automatically. Because if we add musical, what should be the show ID or the foreign key for musical if we are referring to the Muppet Show? One. So do you see why it cannot be automatically? But there is a way to do it this faster and more efficient. So now if you do your select from genre, you're gonna see this, and it looks very cryptic, right? It says 1 comedy, 1 musical. It doesn't say the Muppet Show, comma, comedy, the Muppet Show, comma, musical. It doesn't say that. But if you go to the TV show, where the TV shows are stored, you can see what 1 means. So if you're gonna go here, yes. What do you mean by merge? Merge, like making into 1 table? We already have that table. That's the table we imported from here. So remember, we had this show table. We have a show table, and you should have 2. That's your merge table. So if I go here, and I do, for you, it should be something similar, shows table. And you're gonna see, this is your, the table that contains all the data. So what we're doing now is taking pieces of this file, of this table, and put it in different units on the database. And it's like making a necklace. We're gonna, or like if you are familiar with embroidery, you're gonna through the needle and embroider through different tables and you're gonna do different combinations. But you cannot do this if they are all together. If they are all together, you cannot do this. So the database allows you to separate them and then do different combinations. So later on, you can search only the action shows, or only the shows that start with the letter A, or only the shows that are shows, and you can even put one per year. So you can only choose the ones that were made in the 90s, or you can do the most recent ones. So it becomes a layer effect, and it gives you more power when you separate the components and then you rearrange them by using like a thread, and that's what the SQL does. The SQL is the code that is going to allow you to move around and form different combinations. Can you show the mapping show in the genre in one output? Yeah, we're going to do that. So 1 second. So very good questions, very good questions. So now, and I know this is the part where you have to believe. You have to believe on the process, and I promise you, about 90% you're gonna understand at the end. So you just go with the process, and then so now we have you're gonna have the genre is gonna have 2 values now that are connected to the Muppets. But now we need to add another show, which is called The Office. So you're gonna put this code, and then you're gonna add this to the table called shows, and you're gonna add the TV show, The Office, and it's gonna SQL is gonna assign automatically a unique ID, and it's gonna be 2, because we know the Muppet Show was 1, so The Office is gonna be 2. And you can test it by doing select from shows, and then you're gonna see the 2 ones. And the way it's gonna look is you're gonna see 1 is the Muppet Show and 2 is The Office. Did everybody see that? Awesome, great, thank you. Now we need to enter the genre for The Office. And the genre, The Office has 3 genres. It has, it has 3, but I think we're gonna enter only 2. So you can argue it has 3. It has comedy and drama and musical, because sometimes they do musical. So we're gonna do the genre. And what is the primary key for The Office? 2. So you're gonna see in the code, you're gonna put 2, and you can run this like I just did. You don't have to run one at a time. You just can run enter. You can enter that line, the first line, enter the second line, enter, and then you can do select from, and you're gonna see the output. You're gonna see what is inside the genre. So everybody good? So I'm gonna do the genre. So this is what you should have. 1 comedy, 1 musical, 2 comedy, 2 drama. Okay, good, awesome, great. So now what you have a table called shows. It has the ID is 1, is on the left column, it's the first column. So you have 1 the title is Muppet Show. This is connected. You have a link, kind of like a wire, that goes from this value to the genre. And then you're gonna go from here to the musical. So you have one wire is gonna go comedy, and it's connected by this one. So this one and this one is what it makes, like if you plug something in. So it's kind of making a, if you ever made a circuit, you are connecting to wires. So you're gonna connect this to here by the ID we talk about. So this is the primary key, this is a foreign key. So this foreign key has to be, in order to create that connection, it has to be the same than the primary key. So now we know comedy musical belongs to the item 1 in the table, shows table. Then we have the office, which is the primary key is 2. And then we see comedy and drama. And we can actually add more here. And we're gonna do it with Python at the end. So you're gonna have to, and if we add musical, what will be the foreign key if I will add a genre of musical for the office? Anybody knows? What will be the foreign key that I have to add if I want to add the musical genre to the office? Yeah, exactly. Good. Thank you. So now we have that. Now we can do queries. And this is what I'm talking about. We're going to start threading through these tables. So the first query we're going to do is find out all the shows that are comedy. Right now, it's very easy because we know we only have 2 items, but imagine if we had 1,000. So we know the answer would be the map and the show, but let's build it up. So we're gonna put this code, and this is the thing that I wanted to make sure this is that it's where you'll have to spend more time developing the syntax skills to create all these combinations. So that's where the power of SQL is if you work in SQL, it's to your advantage to know how to put all these functions and clauses together. So you have to kind of wordsmith this, do a combination. So that's where you learn the code. You have to start being more competent with your code. So it's no more just what we've been doing. So right now, what this is we're gonna take from the shows table. So it says select title from the shows table where the ID in, so this in, and that's what I put here, where in returns, that's the clause that returns values that matches values in a list of subqueries. So it's something that refers to something outside. So this in, you're going to put a parenthesis, and you're going to put this code inside the parenthesis. So this is calling something external, and it's going to be select shows ID. So select shows ID from the table genre where the genre is comedy. And the answer is going to be, well, you're going to have the output is going to be the Muppet Show in the office, because this is what you asked. You didn't ask to show you the ID or the genre. You ask here, I want the titles where they have comedy, the genre is comedy. So this is what that code means. So if you can see how you can change that, you can put drama. You can put musical. You can even start being more complex. You can put like we did last week. You can put a wild search. You can start saying, the percentage. So you can start using this code to spill out only the title. So you can say, give me all the TV titles that have comedy, or give me all the TV titles that have music, or give me all the TV titles with a genre starts with C, and so on. And you're not gonna get a whole list. You're gonna get only the titles because that's what it is. So this is basically, you go from here to this table, and then this one goes to this one here, and this two goes because we have comedy here. So it finds the comedy, and then it goes back and connects. Okay, this comedy has an ID 1. So this ID 1 refers to this ID 1. So the answer is the Muppet Show. And then we found comedy, and in comedy has an ID 2, and it refers to ID 2 here. So the answer is The Office. Okay, so and everything in the parentheses is executed first. So this part in the parentheses is going to execute first. So do that and see what you get. And I'm going to do it too. Did I copy it? So did everybody got the answer? Everybody good? Yeah. So that's somebody was talking about merging. So now there is no need to merge things physically. You can just create a query and find and merge it. So that's and then when you have more tables, you can be more sophisticated with your queries. So the next one I want you to try. Well, this one is not going to work yet. So the next one, then you can try later when you have more data in the tables. Right now, we don't have enough data. So this one will find all the titles, all the shows titled The Office. So remember, and then it's gonna order. So we're gonna do that when we have more data. But before we can do the command, we may need to populate the table. So remember, our table is almost empty. And the way to populate the table is by doing insert, like we were doing like that. Insert, but my class has to end. You all have things to do, and I had to be done by 8. So we're gonna do Python. So go ahead and exit from your SQL, and you should now be on the on this environment, out of the SQL environment. And now if you're gonna do this code, and I'm gonna copy here, or you can upload the file and put it right there in the same level where the same directory where you are running your terminal. So right now my file is right here, and I'm here on this level. So I'm in SQL file, and my file is in the folder SQL file. So I already put the file there, but let me put it in Slack too. And you can copy and paste it into a file. And if you don't know how to do that, I'll show you. So the way you do it, you're gonna put file, new file, and you're gonna put it here. And then you're gonna save as. Make sure you save it in the directory where you are running your terminal. And then you're gonna give it a name. I'm just gonna give it another name because I have the same file. So this is just a test for today. And then the extension is gonna be py. That's the way it tells the computer it's a Python. Okay, so if you already have that file, go ahead and run. You don't have to open it like I just did. You just go here to the terminal, make sure you are the same directory in your file, and you're gonna type Python, and you're gonna put exactly the name of the file. So I just usually do this, and then I copy, and then I type py, and then I click enter. Click enter, and it's gonna be like that for a while because we're running on the cloud. So it's gonna stay. And if you have the opportunity and the ability to download the SQLite 3 into your computer, it will run faster than now. This is gonna take a while, but it's working. So that doesn't mean it didn't work. It's just working. So everybody was able to do that, at least to get to this point. Yeah, it's gonna stay idle like that for a while, especially because we're all in it. so we're putting a lot of pressure to the CS50 cloud, but it'll eventually run. Okay, if it doesn't work now, I just try later on when we're off the class and it should work. Okay, so let's look at the code, and you're gonna see it's very similar to what we just did. So you just need to put, this is Python here. One sec, favorite line 12. You need to have, it seems like it's missing the favorite TV shows from resource. So this line that says open favorite TV show, make sure like you have this in the same place where you're running your terminal together with your Python. It seems like that's what's going on. Okay, so I just wanna make sure everybody got that. You have to have, in addition, I didn't mention it before, in addition to the favorite 0001 py, you have to have this one, because what we're doing now, we are doing in 20 lines, we're doing what we've been doing for so far with SQL. So that's what I wanted to talk about. So make sure when you run it, it's gonna be your file, the CSV file, and then it's gonna be your Python in the same place, and then your terminal has to be in the same place. Okay, so let's talk about Python now. So if you are not familiar with Python, it doesn't matter, you don't have to sweat it. And if you're familiar, you might want to, might recognize some things here. So the hashtag is just comments. So don't worry about it, this is just the name of the file. Import, I have to import the module for CSV. So it's like a dictionary, it's a dictionary. So import from CSV 50, import SQL. This is just a line to make sure the IDE knows how to read Python, SQL inside Python. So it's a library that is lived in the CS50 IDE. Then you recognize this, open, we're gonna open, and as W, and remember, I think we talk about W, it means that we're not gonna we're gonna rewrite inside. Then it's gonna close. When all finished, it's gonna close this one. So it's gonna open a database. If it doesn't exist, it's gonna create. Same thing that we did with SQL, with the command shows, open shows DB. Remember, we did that. Then DB becomes this is Python, so it's just telling me this variable DB becomes the SQL database here. And then this is Python way to execute SQL code inside of Python. So you're just gonna tell here DB execute. It means this variable that you created here, which is contains to database. You have to tell the terminal, hey, remember, we're running Python, but now we're gonna do SQL. So then you write, remember this code, we're gonna create a table, and I put another name so it doesn't match with the one that you already have. Then it's the same code. So we're gonna create another table, and that table is gonna have a primary key. The second table is gonna be your genre with the foreign key. Same thing we did before, the same code. You can see the same code. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna open our original file, CSV file. We're gonna open it, and we're going to add it. We're gonna populate it into the tables. So again, we did this on SQL last week and the week before, and the week before. So now Python is gonna do that. It's gonna take that file, it's gonna import it, and then it's gonna put it in a dictionary, then it's gonna go through it, it's gonna clean it up. Remember, we talk about cleaning it up, take out the white space, put everything uppercase. Then it's gonna start inserting the values into shows one. And then for the genre, then we have to write a little more complicated loop, because it's gonna say, we're gonna tell them what ID to put. So right now we're telling them here to put the ID of the table, of the primary key. So we're gonna make that. So it's everything is coming together. Yeah. So so now you can go and open the table. So we can, if you did that in run, mine just finished running. So we can go now to open the SQL, environment, SQLite 3, and we want to check what we did. We're going to put mode CSV like we did before. Then we're going to open the shows DVD. And guess what? Now what we want to do? We want to do if there is anything on those tables. So remember, the name of the table changed. We created a table called shows one. So we want to open that table and see. We're going to select from, and this is shows one. So I'm going to change the name, shows one. And we're going to see what they did. What SQL do? And let me know if you're behind or you have any questions. I haven't seen any questions, so I'm guessing everybody is doing okay. So you're going to see here, this is the table. Okay, here it is. This is the shows table, the original show table we made. So it has the primary key. The question is the secondary, the foreign key correct? Is the other table. So this is what we did last week, and we're doing it today. And instead of doing 1, 1, 1, it did it all. It put everything. So now let's do the genre table, and it's called genre one, genres one. So genres one, and make sure the foreign key is correct, and it should match. It's like magic. It's amazing. So see that? And you see it has repeating numbers. I know, isn't it awesome? I mean, it's just amazing. So let's check here, we have Game of Thrones is 501. So let's try find 501 here. 501. 501 is action and adventure. Oh my God, this is just mind reveal. It's just mind blowing. And then you can also go back and check. But then we can also do our little script that we did before, remember? So we can now do, we can actually do this one that we didn't do, this one for the office, because everything is there now. Oh, we did the wrong one, sorry. Okay, ignore what I just put in Slack. I'm gonna do it again because it didn't do the right one. So do this. Oh, it keeps doing the wrong one. Copy. Okay, now, so take that one that I just put, select this to find the office. Try that one. Also, you can try the comedy, which is the one we did. And now you're gonna find everything that has comedy. And you can do the things that we did last week. We can do the wild search. We can do like. We can do, you know, these are all the ones from comedy. Okay, so any questions so far? So look at this, what is going in here. It's extremely interesting what it's doing, because this is, Python recognizes that there is this ID is connected to this ID. So it's going to recognize the primary key, and it's gonna send the primary key as a foreign key to the table, the genre table. So it's gonna create a real connection. And I know you guys were asking me about how to do that when we're doing the SQL only. And we will have to put 2, comedy, 2, musical. But now Python is doing it for us. And it's so powerful to do this. And you can see where the possibilities of this is they're immense, because you can do a lot of data in record time. Is much faster than doing Excel. So you're, from now on, what I will invite you to get better on the syntax of SQL, so you know how to do those queries faster and create queries, and get instructed into database design, database architecture, so you understand how these databases work. I have further reading here, and there is a video here where they explain some of the limitations of SQL. It's called SQL injection attack and race conditions. And this is where the database is updating, but when it's updating, it doesn't know what is updating, or vulnerability of hacking. So if you are interested, I put the links right here. And remember, we have here the library. We have a SQL, a universal classes, where they have the MySQL class, and that's another database. No, this is not one. There's another database, so you can follow that class. And I put it on the first one. There is also Data Camp, SQL Practice, SQLite, and then there is this is for, it's bronze patterns. We have universal classes. And I think some of these videos are free, so you don't even have to register universal classes. And he goes through more in depth than what I did today, this time. So I hope this is very helpful, and I will appreciate you let me know how this helped you with your school or career or whatever you're planning to do. And If you have any questions, and if you're watching the recording, let me know of any questions. You have my email, you know where to find me in Slack. So I'm very grateful for your company, and I'm glad to have found people who are as thinks all this is awesome. Like I think we'll get excited together. So that's awesome to find a group of people that we can get really excited when things work. Okay, so take care and see if you want to join for GitHub, and if not, I'll see you hopefully in May. Okay, bye bye. Take care.